difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome everybody. It is afternoon tea time and Miss Liz is back. That's right. I am back and I have a couple again. I always love having husbands and wives and, the male and the female, we get a little deeper. We have two people to talk to instead of one. It's just more fun. So if you haven't subscribed to Miss Liz's YouTube channel, please run over and ring that little doorbell. You'll be notified for all the tea times that are going up. And you can watch these at any time. Whenever you're comfortable, you can listen to them in your car, at work, when you're working out in the gym. You can listen to us at any time. You do not have to be here right now to listen to the live. So we're going to get a little disclaimer and we're going to get the bio of Barry and Joyce out here and we're going to have some fun and we're going to spill some tea on teaching everyone awakening. That's the tea we're serving today. We don't serve a beverage in this house. We serve words and we serve storytelling. And we got some amazing stories to share with you today. So again, let's get started and then I'll get Barry and Joyce in here and we'll spill some tea together. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to note that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all tea times are done on Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you see a tea time on a Monday and Tuesday, it's usually a surprise or a returning guest that's coming back for a second, third, fourth, and fifth tea time. So now a little bit on my guests. I'm going to give you a little bit, and then I want you to scoot over to Miss Liz's Facebook page, and you can get all of that good information all there, and we're going to talk about it with Barry and Joyce. So Joyce Vissell, I hope I'm saying it right, RNMS, and Barry Vissell, MD, lecture and have led over 20 workshops per year internationally to audience who become their warm, relaxed, and yet profound wisdom. Joyce and Barry have written a monthly column for over 40 years, Heartfulness, which they email for free to their subscribers. These articles also appear in about 80 publications internationally and countless e-zine websites, including their own and blogs. I'm going to jump down over here. Barry and Joyce are two people deeply in love since 1964 who have raised 3 children and walked their talk. They are the authors of the Shared Heart, Model of Love, Risk to be Healed, Light in the Mirror, also published as The Heart's Wisdom, Meant to Be, and A Mother's Final Gift. To Really Love a Woman, To Really Love a Man, Heartfulness, and their new book, A Couple of Miracles, One Couple More Than a Few Miracles, which we'll be talking about today. A story from Meant to Be was made into a Sunday night NBC movie, It Must Be Love, sharing real-life couple Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen. The Vissells, since 1983, are founders and directors of the Shared Heart Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to changing the world one heart at a time. And you know how Miss Liz feels about one cup at a time. So we're doing one heart at a time. So you can go to sharedheart.org to sign up for their free heart letter and free weekly video inspirations to read past articles as many aspects of personal growth and relationships to see their events or workshops scheduled or more, to contact Barry and Joyce. And I'm going to get Barry and Joyce in here, and we're going to learn a little bit more about this lovely couple. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
You know, as soon as I start tea time, I'm fine. I'm cool as ice in the background. That live button goes on, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh. So, Barry and Joyce, I'm going to take you guys way back for a little. We're going to get to know a little of each one of you. So, I'm going to start with Joyce.
Mhm.
Who were you as a little girl, and who are you now as a grown lady?
Okay. Well, so I was born in Buffalo, New York. And as a little girl, I was extremely sensitive, kind of empathic, feeling what was going on. And I was born into a loving family, but they had no idea of the gifts that I was coming to bring. It was a family that honored academics, doing well in school. You know, my dad wanted me to be a math teacher. My parents had no idea about this sensitivity, and they thought that there was something seriously wrong with me, like a handicap, something that I had to get over. And my father kept saying, you're not going to make it in the world. You've got to get over this and just, study math, do well in school, and then everything will be okay. So I grew up. I did do well in school, but I grew up feeling that I had a handicap as much as if someone was blind or deaf. It felt like that's what I was, and it was so hard for me as a child. And one thing, whenever I would cry because I'd be feeling these things, I'd always be sent to my room, and told, those feelings are private. You should, if you want to cry, you should be by yourself. And one of those times when I was 9, and I felt so like an alien, like I didn't belong in this world. And I had my first experience of a real divine experience. And it wasn't like I saw an angel. It wasn't like I heard, like anyone else could have heard anything. There wasn't anything unusual except a very calm, peaceful voice that spoke to me and said, there's nothing wrong with you. And right now, there's a boy growing up who will understand your feelings and understand your sensitivity. And you will recognize him. He will be tall, have dark hair, and he'll be on his way to becoming a doctor. That was the message. And it calmed me down so much, because I knew, it totally changed my childhood. Outwardly it didn't change, but inwardly I felt like I'm going to meet someone who's going to be able to understand me. And that was Barry. And we met when we were 18, and I recognized pretty soon that this is the person that inner voice was directing me to. So who I am now, I'm totally in love with this man, and I feel so grateful to be with you, Barry. Just like so grateful. And I'm really accepting this gift that I have. That's the sensitivity, empathic. I'm accepting it as one of my powers. Really, it's not all together. I still suffer sometimes with being so sensitive and not quite knowing my way out of it. But it's so much better than when I was a child, and of course, and Barry helps me a lot too. But the work really has to be on myself. Mm-hmm. So that's what.
Yeah, because I watched a video of you guys, and I mentioned just before we went live, and you had talked about your father, and that it really resonated, made me cry. My eyes watered up a lot, and because my father was the same way. I connect with you, Joyce. He was tough on me. It was that tough love, right? You're never going to be anything in the world. You're not going to do, you're always a crybaby. You're always sensitive, you know? And it was always go to your room. You know, I can see you, but I don't want to hear you. Like, you know?
Exactly.
So it resonated a lot with me, and
Yeah.
it resonates a lot with the listeners out there as well, is that a lot of us girls growing up, we were told that, right? When we were the sensitive child, we were told, you know what, you're not going to make it in the world. You're too sensitive. You know, so, so now, I'm going to jump into you, Barry. Who were you as a little guy, and who are you now?
Okay, well, before I go into that, I'm always so amazed at this message that Joyce got when she was 9 years old. You know, you'll meet somebody and you'll recognize him, tall, dark hair, and on its way to being a doctor. My hair was darker when I was young. And this happened when she was 9 years old. So when I knew about this, I remember asking my mother if she remembers when I decided to become a doctor. And she said, it just came out of the blue when you're 9 years old. You announced that. So
Wow.
I've known all that time, since 9 years old, that I was going to be a doctor. It's almost like I had to be, because otherwise Joyce and I couldn't be together, right?
Because she needed that doctor.
Yes, but I was a bit of a rascal. Okay, I mean, if I got into some trouble, I acted out a lot. I'm not proud of some of the things I did. I wasn't that great of a student, and to be a doctor, you have to be a good student, right? But something very profound happened when I was 18. Okay, senior year of high school, I did not get into any colleges. I got rejected by every college. Now I understand I wasn't that great of a student. So I had nowhere to go to college. And to be a doctor, you have to go to college. One day, I was summoned to the principal's office in the high school, and there was a man there who took me into a little room, and he said, I'm representing Hartwick College in Oneonta, New York. And he took a few minutes to describe the college. And then he said, if you'd like to come, and he pulled a pen out of his pocket, and he said, sign right here. I looked on the table. There was an application already filled in with all my personal information, and my transcripts were there. And what did I know, right? At age 18, I thought, okay, colleges go around and find kids who didn't get in and sign them up, right? I didn't know. And so I just signed. Actually, there was a moment there when, before I signed, I was holding his pen, and I said, this is a really big decision. Can I please have some time to think about it? And he said, absolutely, take a minute. I didn't even take a minute. I just signed. I didn't know. And the thing that happened, the miracle, and this is in our new book, A Couple of Miracles. This is really profound, but that man did not exist. Nobody knew who that was. When I got to college at Hartwick, Joyce and I met pretty soon after, and Joyce heard the story and said, have you thanked Hartwick's admissions office for recruiting you? I said, no. And she said, Barry, get your butt up there and thank them for recruiting you. So I got there. Nobody knew who that was. And finally, I was brought into the dean of admissions, and he heard my story and he said, I believe that happened, but we never, ever have recruited anyone. And we don't have anybody who goes around. So nobody knew who that man was. And to this day, I still get goosebumps thinking about it. I think it could have been an angel. Who knows, right?
I believe that that's divine universe connecting people that need to be connected, you know, and putting us on a path that we might not even understand. And years later, we'll be like, okay, I know this happened. Like, it makes you question, right? Like, did I dream it? Did I fill out an application on my own? Like, how did, like, you know, and the age of 9, like you talking about being a doctor and Joyce having, you know, this vision. It's a divine universe putting you guys together. And you guys have been together for how long?
59 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what I want to add, because people hear a story like that and they think, oh, it must be just so perfect. You know, you came together, it must be so perfect. The reality is that it wasn't, because this was 1964 and it wasn't that long from the ending of World War II, and people were really learning about the Holocaust and what happened. And Barry was raised in a very what would you say,
Traditional
traditional
Jewish
New York Jewish family, and he was raised that it is his responsibility to marry a Jewish person and have Jewish children, that they need to bring Jewish people back. So that was like from, you know, early on, so deep inside of him. I am not Jewish, and I was not going to become Jewish. And so right away at age 18, Barry looked at me and said, you know, we can never get married.
Yeah.
And that very serious adult thing was kind of, and it wasn't the beginning, because the beginning was this blissful time of being together, but this reality. And so then it took years to kind of work our way through that. And what we tell people about relationship is that typically there will be something so hard and you're not going to know how to get through it. But in the getting through it, you will make your relationship really strong. So there's no such thing as just this easy relationship.
Yeah.
Relationship has challenges, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
well, and Barry, you even admitted that you were a little rebel. So the rebel was in you, right? So that's how you got married.
my parents did come to the wedding.
Well,
My mother sat in the front crying like it was a funeral, but they came.
well, I'm
Yeah.
sure today, after 59 years, they have accepted Joyce, right?
Yeah.
Really, they long ago they accepted. They're all passed on now. But my mother before she died, well, actually for decades before she died, every time I saw her, she would say, Barry, you know, the best thing that has ever happened to you is Joyce.
I'd say it took about 10 years
Okay.
for them to accept.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Relationships are hard. A lot of people think it's this fairy tale. And what I love about your story is you wrote all these amazing love story romances and books and articles, but your journey to fall in love was hard work. It was a challenge, right? You had to overcome these struggles.
Oh, we fought so much over religion.
I can imagine.
We did. And here we are. Spirituality is the strongest part of our relationship. And yet I'm still Jewish and Joyce is still Christian, but we have found a common area that we both have our full hearts into.
Yeah.
And that's how it works.
I think that's the magic, right? The magic is having the heart in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys have this incredible foundation, the heart and the shared heart. You shared your hearts. Come on. Like
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about the Shared Heart Foundation?
You go ahead.
Yeah. Well, our first book was called The Shared Heart, and it was a book about really, when it came out in 1984, there were hardly any other writings about using relationship as a conscious spiritual path, to grow. And so, yeah, and that book really went out there big time, and it got so many invitations, and so yeah, we started the foundation, the Shared Heart Foundation, as a way to put on seminars and to help families and couples, and that's really been our work for the last 40-50 years here.
I think it's really magical. Like for all my listeners out there that are looking for, that love story, the challenges, the struggles. Look at Barry and Joyce as an example, and check out the Shared Heart Foundation and see how you can look for retreats and workshops and all that as well. But I want to get into the book because you guys have this new incredible book, and just the title of it, A Couple of Miracles. One couple more than a few miracles. Yeah. So there's a lot of miracles in there, guys. So what are the miracles?
Oh my God. Well, we already told you a few. The thing that happened with Joyce at age 9 and how I got recruited by an angel. I mean, these are amazing things, but the book, yeah, it's filled with unexplainable, amazing things that happen.
We started out the book. Yeah, there have been a lot. And it's not like there's just a lot of miracles in our lives. I think all people have a lot of miracles. They just don't, they take it for granted, like it's nothing special. Yeah. But these amazing things happen to everyone. So we live in California, and everyone knows that there's earthquakes in California. Not that often, but sometimes. And in 1989, we happened to be right by the epicenter of one of the biggest earthquakes that ever hit California. What's it called?
The Loma Prieta 1989 earthquake.
I actually had the guy who did a documentary on that earthquake.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you know about it.
Remember it stopped the World Series?
Yeah.
So anyway, we were living in this small rented house. It was kind of an older house. It didn't have a really great foundation, but we loved it because it was on a 120-acre ranch, and we just loved everything about it. And we had just had our son was born, our third child. He was just 5 months old, and we had two little girls also. And we were in the bathroom. I had just finished giving our baby a bath, and Barry was trying to pick him up when the earthquake happened. And there's so many instances during those few minutes that we could have been completely killed. First of all, the house went off the foundation and slid down a hill 7 feet. Wow. But the most major is that there was a big propane tank right outside the bathroom, and it started shooting all of the gas.
When the house slid, it took the line off of the tank, and the tank was emptying 250 gallons of propane through the bathroom window where we were trapped. And we couldn't get out of the bathroom, and we couldn't close the window because it was jammed.
Wow.
And so we were within maybe less than 1 minute of dying from the gas.
Because the pilot light on the furnace was always on, and that would have been enough to just explode the whole house. But by some miracle, that pilot light went out, and we all, by great effort, were able to get out of that house. Yeah. Our daughters had a lot of cuts, they were bleeding, but they weren't really deeply injured. But we got it. We got out.
Yeah.
We got out, and the house looked terrible.
Yeah.
It
was all broken apart.
We just looked terrible.
Yeah.
But we got out, and I I deeply feel that it's a miracle that all 5 of us lived through that experience. So that's one of the more dramatic miracles. I would say scary, but I don't know. Do you want to share any others?
Well, another really profound miracle was we were up I was hiking up in Mount Shasta, and I was walking through an alpine meadow, and by the stream there was a man who was lying down, and I was going to walk by him because first, I'm a doctor, okay, so I looked, made sure he was breathing, right? But I was going to walk past him, and I felt a really deep prompting to go sit right next to him. And my mind, as you know, as everybody knows, when we get these crazy promptings, we argue ourselves out of them. Yeah. So I argued that, I couldn't possibly sit next to him. He's probably taking a nap, or he's meditating, or who knows what he's doing. And if I sat next to him, he'll think I'm crazy. He'll think I'm weird, whatever it is, right? So I kept trying to get myself out of that, but it was strong. It was really strong. And finally I listened, and I sat 1 foot away from his head, in this alpine meadow with nobody else around. He opened his eyes, he sat up, and he looked at me as if he was expecting me. Wow. And he said, "I was lying here planning my suicide. And I prayed one last time, if there is a God, there's a spiritual energy, please send me help." And the next second I sat down next to him. Wow. And we spent a half an hour hugging and crying and talking. And of course he told me now this is the clearest sign he's ever got in his life. He doesn't need to kill himself anymore. But I often think, what if I didn't listen, right? And I believe we all get these promptings all the time. And we talk ourselves out of it. Like, call so-and-so. And we think, nah.
I'll call later.
Yeah, right, later. But, these are divine intuitions, right? They're promptings.
Yeah.
So that's another little big miracle, right? Yeah.
And you said something really important, Barry, is we need to start listening, right? Because we all get those prompt messages. Yeah. And then we live with the regret because we didn't follow through with those messages, like to make that call or go check on that person or just walk down that street instead of that street.
Exactly. Right.
But we close that mind, and we are like, we'll get to it later. We'll do it later. We'll do that tomorrow. We won't do that today. Where I think there's a lot of messages out there that are being missed because we're not listening, right? We're not awakened. We're not listening to the divine universe because we're scared of it, because we're like, well, I'm not going to sit beside that guy. Like, he might be, he might be the one that's coming after me. Like, and Joyce, you mentioned the earthquake, and I had the guy, I'm trying to remember his name for the life of me. He was on Teatime last year, and he did a documentary on the earthquake, and there was a lot of stories that were brought up that there was a lot of miracles during that earthquake as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of things that couldn't be explained, but it also was a big shakeup of waking up that area, that community. Bringing people together, people that were not connecting before, that came together and connected, helped each other out. Right. And I think that we get these Mother Earth storms and events that happen that kind of shakes us up and says, we got to start listening. Right. We got to start connecting. We got to start coming together, not divided, but together.
Right.
And it's like a relationship, right?
Right.
You shake it and it's like it's all messed up. And the easiest thing to do is I'm leaving. I'm gone. Right. Instead of sitting down and saying, oh, maybe I need to change a little. Maybe I need to do this a little. maybe I need to settle down a little, like, you know.
One of the main things that we do now is we teach couples how to more deeply love and connect. And it's all about being able to get past projection. Okay, because we don't see what's in ourselves, but we sure see it in our partner. Okay. And so we help people take responsibility for what's going on inside. It's so important.
And I think we don't talk about that enough, right?
Right.
In today's world is connection and
Yeah.
understanding the other person. We're so fast to judge, right? But we don't understand.
Yeah.
And it's that mirror, right? Look in the mirror and say, okay, why is this bugging me so much? And because it's a reflection of me, right?
Exactly. We wrote one of our books is called Light in the Mirror. And
Oh,
it's being able to, it's a book showing how to use your partner as a mirror so that you can better grow yourself and learn what you need to learn. And ultimately, to see the light in the mirror is to see the highest part of both your partner and yourself.
so I want to get into your guys' tea, because we're at tea time, right? And the
Yeah.
words that you gave me, and I ask this to all the guests, is what is their tea? Because I don't serve my guests. My guests serve me. They bring the story to the table. And you guys gave me teaching everyone awakening.
Yeah.
Through
Yeah.
your story, how are you teaching everyone to be awakened?
Well, that is our work, and even though so much of our work is around couples, it's really about the individual awakening. Because if you focus on really taking care of yourself and nurturing your own heart, that's the way you most nurture your partner too.
And also, so we had the good fortune of having several really good teachers early on in our early 30s, late 20s. And one of those was Leo Biscaglia, who went on to become quite a well-known teacher. And his whole thing was that we need to be real, and we need to accept who we are and not pretend to be anybody else. And that if we want to help someone, we have to be real and not put on a good front, because people won't really trust that.
Well, your
And
energy is going to give you away.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's what I tell people. Everyone's like, Miss Liz, you're such a kook. And I'm like, okay, I'm a coot. I'm a hoot. I like to have fun. I'm so imperfect and so all over roller coaster. But that's what we have to bring to the table, right, Joyce? We
Right.
have to bring that to the table. Like when you met Barry, you had to bring that sensitive side to the table. So Barry could be that lover for you. And we're gonna get into word lover in a bit. But I mean, you have to bring that to the table in order
Yes.
to make that connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that, I'd say that's part of what we offer people, is this opportunity to be vulnerable and to be real. There's a place where we live. It's called Esalen. That's pretty well known retreat center, at least in our country. And we do these retreats, and usually there's about 25 couples. And we have each person, that's a lot of people, with each person for a very short period of time, like 1 minute, share their deepest vulnerability. And it is amazing what people share. These people that walk into the workshop, totally confident, maybe they're, PhD, MD, super amount of education, and they share their vulnerability, and you can see the little child in them. It's so beautiful. And then at the end, almost everyone that shares says that it was the most powerful, is to know that other people also have these vulnerabilities, because people feel so alone. They look around and they think, well, Everybody else has it so together.
Yeah.
But I'm dealing with these feelings inside, and I'm not going to tell anyone because they won't accept me. But in truth, when we share these vulnerabilities, we're much more lovable and much more acceptable.
Yeah. For example, I had a lot of trouble accepting the part of me that needed love from Joyce.
Wow.
I really had trouble with that because I grew up in this tough neighborhood in Brooklyn, New York. And if I showed any vulnerability like fear, I would get beaten up.
Yeah.
So I had to stuff everything and give a tough outer image, right? And so early in our relationship, Joyce would say to me, Barry, I really need your love. Don't you need my love? And I'd say, no, I don't need your love. I choose to be with you. That used to really hurt her, right? And I'd say, I could be with anybody, but I choose you. Wasn't that a horrible thing to say?
59 years later, are you still saying that, Barry?
Well, guess what? 59 years later, I need Joyce's love so deeply that my greatest vulnerability is the thought of her dying before me. That's my biggest vulnerability. The thought of being alone on this planet without the dearest friend of my heart. Yeah.
And I think that's why you guys gave me the word to describe you guys. I asked my guests, all my guests that come to the tea time table, Miss Liz asks them, give me one word to describe yourselves. And you gave me the word lovers. So let's get into the word lovers, because a lot of people, they say lovers and they're like, oh, we're talking about dirty stuff now. You know what? There's a closeness. There's a connection with intimacy that we really need to start talking about, you know? So why the word lovers, guys?
Well, you chose that.
I chose the word. But you probably would choose.
I'll go along with it.
You'll go. What word would you choose?
Probably thankful.
Thankful.
I
Thankful lovers. Look at that.
Thankful lovers. I like that. Okay. You've heard the thing about intimacy? Into me see. Intimacy. So it's letting yourself be seen. And that's being a lover. That's being a lover. It's not about sex. I mean, sex is wonderful and we love that too. but it's about really connecting on all levels. Mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. To really be lovers. That's what intimacy is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk about your word.
No, I'll stay with lovers.
You'll stay with lovers.
She likes the lovers now.
But I would have definitely gone with thankful, I think. But
I like it. It's thankful lovers, right? And
Yeah.
I like the way that you did that, Barry. Like into see, like the seeing part, right?
Intimacy is into me see.
I love it. Joyce, tell me why you like lovers now.
Well, early on in our relationship, we decided that our love was going to be the top priority in our lives. And Barry was in medical school. I was in graduate school, so we both were extremely busy. So it wasn't about quantity because we didn't have a lot of time to be together, but it really was about quality, that we made our times together be really, really important. And when we started having children, so the 3 children, there was always that feeling that even though the child, the baby, then the second, then the third, took up more time, huge amount of time, still our relationship and the love that we have for each other was always going to be the top priority in our lives. I think that's what's and with our careers too. As we started, when the first book was published, we started to get really busy with invitations and all kinds of invitations. And we always kept that our relationship was the top priority, and not to take an invitation for something that would take us away from that. The thankful lovers is I feel so grateful to be with such a beautiful man. And I tell you every day,
You too.
every day. And I also share with Barry that I would choose him over and over and over again. And that's something we try and teach couples, because when we say that, would you choose each other again? A lot of people don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Like, what? I get to change it?
yeah, there's just a silence. But to know that your partner would choose you again, even though you're going through difficult times, I think that's part of being a lover too.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that Joyce, you have taught me so much about love. You've helped me become sensitive because of your sensitivity. Yeah.
And I see that. I see that Joyce has brought that sensitive side of you out. And it really shows in the way that the body language, the conversation, the connection, and we need that sometimes. Like you said, Barry, growing up, you had to be that tough boy, because if you didn't, you got beaten, right?
Yeah.
So you found a woman that had to bring that soft side out, that wanted to be out, to begin with. And you brought that side to Joyce as well, to say, you know what, it's okay to be soft.
Yeah.
You both gave that permission to be who you really were.
Yeah. And the paradox is, as much as Joyce has brought out the sensitivity in me, at the same time, that makes me a stronger man.
Yeah.
And that's really, people don't understand that. They think, you're either sensitive or you're strong.
Yeah.
But no, the sensitivity makes you powerful.
Well, the vulnerability, right, of being
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
is strength. I say this all the time. The broken is beautiful. We're all broken people.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the light had to come into all of us in order for the universe to work with our energies and to get us to where we need to be. We have to be broken. We all have to break. We all have to fall. We all have to fail. There's not one of us that hasn't failed, hasn't fallen, hasn't gone through something, hasn't connected with the wrong partner, and then finds the right partner. There's a journey for all of us out there.
Yeah. And let me share one of the biggest ways that we had to break. Because remember, early in the relationship, I said that I was not aware of my need for love. So I actually pushed to have sex with other people. And this was really uncomfortable for Joyce. And finally, her best friend came to visit us. And Joyce said she saw the energy between us. She saw the sparks. And she said one night, if you guys ever acted on what I'm seeing, that would be way too much. I couldn't bear it. The next day we had sex.
You and the woman.
Me and the woman, right. Right. And I came back and I told Joyce. And Joyce had the self-respect enough to leave the marriage. She ended the marriage. She left. She walked out. And that was that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know she would do that. I thought I was like pushing for growth and pushing for whatever, right? But she left. And it was because she left that the shell around my heart had to break. It destroyed me.
Yeah.
And I, for the first time in my life, felt a little boy inside who was always there, but I felt how much that little boy needs love and needs Joyce, and how I'd blown it, right? And it was, as you see now, we eventually healed this and got back together and learned big lessons, because that's what life is about. When you get broken down, you have a chance to build up something new.
Yeah.
And but that was really painful. It took 2 years to really heal that one.
Yeah, and we work with a lot of couples where there's a similar situation, and the one partner that feels betrayed, or the partner who had the affair or whatever, feels like their partner should. They've said I've already said I'm sorry. Get over this quickly, but it takes a long time to heal such a big betrayal. And Barry had to be very lovingly patient with me and accepting, because the feelings would come unannounced, and you needed to be firm within yourself about this change that you had made, and how you trusted yourself.
Yeah, I mean, just the truth of knowing how much I need love from Joyce. That's the thing that was missing, and that's what really caused the affair. So,
But I think we do that, Joyce and Barry. I think we try to destroy things, right, to see if it's going to break and it's going to stay broken. And I think we push ourselves to the limits. How much can I get away with?
Right.
How much is she going to take? How much is he going to take before? And I think, Joyce, by you leaving, you actually show Barry, you know what? This is how much I'm going to take. I'm not going to accept it, and I'm leaving. And if you want me back, you're going to need to change your ways. And, and I think all relationships go through that part, right?
Yeah.
Where we test each other. We test, how much will she take? How much will he take? How much can I get away with? Until somebody says, you know what? These are my boundaries. This is where it stops.
Yeah.
We either stop here and change and work together, or we go our separate ways and we stay separate.
I sometimes think, what would have happened if Joyce tried to forgive me and stayed? I would have kept pushing other boundaries, right?
Well, yeah, because Barry was saying at the very beginning, he said, this is the way I want to live. This is the way we should all live in this open place.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not that way.
Right.
You'll have to do that on your own.
Yeah.
And it was good. And I throughout this pain, I look at my whole life, that probably was the most painful thing that has happened to me. And yet I also feel a sense of gratitude, because it brought us into this much deeper place.
There's the gratitude again.
Yeah.
There's a thankful lover.
Right. There's the thankful lover.
But you see how sex broke and disconnected.
Yeah.
But then the gratefulness of giving you that space, and Barry giving Joyce that space to connect again, coming back together and seeing what was really meant to be. Society tells us that sex is happiness, right? That's a happy marriage, right? You have a good sex life, you're good, you're happy, you're all that. But it's not true. We're it's false. It's the struggles and challenges that actually bring us together. How much can a couple actually take, and how much can we actually build, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And having that openness and conversation and saying, oh, okay, you know what? I messed up here, and I messed up pretty bad. So I gotta work hard on this one, and having that broken heart brought you guys back together to connect the heart.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's a miracle. I think it was a miracle that, Barry, you did that. It wasn't right that you did that, but it was a miracle that it brought you together and connected you guys together to be a stronger lovers now.
We both learned very, very big lessons. And I don't know if you want to share, what you learned about self-love and self-devotion, rather than too much towards me,
That's enough. Yeah.
Okay.
And you learned.
Yeah. Well, I learned about the little boy that needs love. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the thing with Barry is that he he was, except with me, he wasn't really real with other people. He always put on a smile.
Yeah.
No matter what happened, he was smiling. Everything was fine. And through this experience, suddenly your pain,
Yeah.
your realness came through, and you realized that you could be accepted showing those feelings as well.
Yeah. Joyce mentioned this teacher, Leo Biscaglia, who was an amazing, amazing man. He taught love, okay, at USC. He had a love class, back when everybody was embarrassed at the university, but the love class was the most well attended of all the classes.
Because we don't talk about it enough, right?
No. But Leo, he really loved us both. But he'd get right in my face and he'd say, Barry, have you ever noticed when Joyce is sad, you can see it in her energy and her face. When she's afraid, she shows that. And therefore, when she's happy, you can trust that.
Yeah.
And then he'd say to me, Barry, on the other hand, when you're sad, you smile. When you're angry, you smile. And so I can't trust you. He was really blunt with me. And it was after this affair and all the pain and breaking down, I finally, I came crawling to Leo's door, and he saw me just blubbering and crying and vulnerable. And he held me and he just told me, Barry, you're finally real. And this will change your whole life. And it did. So that's a little plug about vulnerability.
I think it's a miracle, right? That we listen. You listen, Barry. You didn't want to hear it. It was hard truth, but you listened.
I listened.
And Joyce was told when she was 9 that she was going to meet this doctor, and Joyce knew. She knew you before you even knew yourself.
Yes. It's true.
And if it wasn't for the angel who came from Hartwick, I wouldn't have even gone to college.
Absolutely. It's amazing how a love story opens up so many different paths and so many choices. Barry, I listened to one of your songs. I know you're not going to sing today, but if you check out Barry and Joyce's YouTube channel, you can hear Barry singing. And in the lyrics, you said we all have a choice.
Oh, yeah, we can choose. We can always choose to follow the path with heart. And then the next line is, we can choose and we'll never lose because the path leads to who we are.
And I think that it's truly magical how divine universe works and how it brings people together and how it brings a story together and how it brings a tea together, together sitting here and having this conversation. And my listeners and viewers are, so we have a question here. So what's the secret to a happy marriage?
Oh, you want to share?
Appreciating each other. There should be so much more appreciation than criticism. I don't know. I just randomly picked 90% appreciation and gratitude. And then when you have to address something that isn't working, your partner will be able to hear it, because there'll be they'll know that you love them and that you're on their side and you appreciate them. We see marriages where it's the other way, where it's so much more criticism, and those are not happy marriages at all.
Okay.
Appreciation and gratitude, really.
Yeah.
And believing. I'll just do one more thing. So when we wrote our first book, The Shared Heart, I didn't know that writing that book would also mean that I would have to speak in public. I was terrified. I was a very quiet, inward, shy person. Barry, not so much, not at all. And and we started getting these invitations. He's like, come on, we can do this. I was so afraid. I can't even describe in words how fearful I was. He said, come on, I believe in you. I believe that you can do this. And, it took years before I finally was really comfortable, but I was able to do it because you always believed in me, Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
I think
the same vice versa. That you believed in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah. So what did you want to share about the secrets?
So appreciation, believing in each other. But I have to say that the biggest secret of a really healthy, loving marriage has to do with spirituality. It has to do with opening and receiving the help from something more than just your personality and your mind and your own personal love. It's like plugging in to a divine outlet, whether you call it God, universe, divine love, doesn't matter. But to be able to call that energy in is the most powerful thing you can do in a marriage. And we do that every single day, every single morning.
I I think it's really deeply important. I'm a lady that likes to pay attention. And Barry, when I asked you what a happy marriage was, you put in healthy and loving instead. I'm so grateful for you to say that, because everyone puts the word happy marriage. Let's
Right.
put the healthy and loving part of the marriage in there. Forget the happy, because it's not always happy.
No, it is not.
But if it's healthy and loving, it will be more happy.
Absolutely, right? I really enjoyed this conversation with you guys today. This tea time, it's really truly, you guys have touched my heart, and it's one heart at a time. And I love that you do one at a time, because
Yeah.
that's what we need to do, right? One tea at a time, one heart at a time, one
Right.
difference at a time, one miracle at a time, And I want to thank Linda and Charlie Bloom for giving me these incredible guests today, Barry and Joyce, because without you guys spreading the love and spreading the joy that you enjoyed tea time, they are here today sharing their love stories. So if you want to check out their tea time, you can check it out on the YouTube channel. But you can check out Barry and Joyce's tea time at any time, because it's going to be uploaded in a few hours. That's how simple it works, right? That's how the divine universe works. We just put it up there and we get it out there and we share the love. So what final message do you guys have for everybody today?
Oh, I have one.
Go ahead, Barry.
It's back to that walk in the alpine meadow where I listened to my prompting. Okay. And my message to everyone is pay attention. When you get a prompting, when you are sitting, for example, and somebody's name comes into your mind and you don't know why, take that risk and call them or text them or whatever. Just try to listen to these promptings that are always happening. You'll always be getting something, and it'll always be good. You might save a life.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I try and live my life knowing that I'm loved, and it's not. I'm loved by my beautiful husband, but it's more than that. It's a big love that, and the more I can accept that love into my heart, the more peace that I feel. And so part of that, knowing that I'm loved, is being able to give that out to other people in unexpected places, like the grocery line or the gas station. Wherever I am, and there's people are always needing love and a kind word and an appreciation to really keep that going.
Well, I really want to thank you guys for sitting and bringing, teaching everyone awakening. We awoke today, like, we brought the hearts together, and I want to really thank you guys. Thank you to the listeners and the viewers out there. Without all of you guys, I could not do this. I could not share these teas. I could not bring you guys incredible strong teas like Barry and Joyce's love story. Go out and check their book, grab a copy, check out their website as well. And I will see everybody back here tonight at 7 p.m. with a returning guest who was on season 3, season 4, and now he's going to be on season 5 because he has another tea to share and another book to share as well. And I just really want to thank everybody for taking the time and being open and honest with yourselves and just sharing the tea within you. So Barry and Joyce, continue to share that love story. I want to hear a happy 60th anniversary, because I believe you guys can do it. And I'm just a cup of tea away if you guys need anything. So thank you so much for joining me. And we will be right back. Barry and Joyce, don't leave. I'm just going to close up.
Okay.